Chris Bajda is the managing partner at GroomsDay. This interview with Chris was done on August 4th, 2026. Let's jump in. We asked Chris what motivates him when things get tough. Chris answered, "There's a specific memory I go back to from the early wedding reports. Calm days, a stretch where I almost shut the whole thing down over cash flow. What got me through wasn't some big mindset shift. It was one vendor telling me to give it 90 more days before I made any decision. That's basically become my rule now. When things get hard, I give it a real runway before I let myself react, and most of the time the problem sorts itself out in that window." Next, we asked Chris to share 3 things that were surprisingly easy and 3 that were surprisingly difficult about his business. He said, "The easy ones. Landing vendor partnerships took almost no convincing. I already had 15 years of trade show relationships before GroomsDay even launched. Pricing wasn't hard either. Groomsmen gifts have a pretty tight range, and I knew it cold from weddingreports.com data. And honestly, the branding came fast. Groomsmen gifts practically sell themselves once you get the humor right. The hard ones. Inventory timing during peak wedding season still trips me up some years. Demand spikes in ways that don't match last year's numbers. Managing more than 50 vendors at once means something's always slightly off somewhere, and that never fully goes away. And scaling past a certain order volume, somewhere around 10,000 orders, meant rebuilding fulfillment from scratch because what worked when we were small didn't hold up." Then we asked Chris what he likes best about his work. He replied, "I love that I get texts from customers telling me the groomsmen cried opening their gifts. That never gets old after 30,000 orders. I love untangling a vendor problem before a customer even knows there was one. That's the part of the job most people never see. And I love that I can trace this whole business back to a decision I made in 2003 to start weddingreports.com instead of staying in corporate marketing." Next, we asked Chris what he considers his greatest skills. He answered, "Relationship building is probably the one that's carried me furthest, straight from my trade show years. That's how I built out more than 50 vendor partnerships without ever doing cold outreach. I can also usually tell within the first order or 2 whether a vendor's going to hold up under volume. That comes from just paying attention long enough to spot the pattern. And then there's patience on the operations side, which sounds boring, but scaling to 30,000 orders taught me that fixing things fast usually creates a bigger mess than fixing them right the first time." Then we asked Chris to tell us about a surprising outcome he never expected. He said, "Early on, I thought more product options meant more sales, so I kept adding vendors and products. Turns out I was wrong. Order completion actually dropped once the catalog got too big. People got stuck comparing instead of buying. I cut it back to our strongest sellers and conversions went up right away. That one caught me off guard, and it's the reason I still push back when someone on my team wants to add more without cutting something else first." Next, we asked Chris about the biggest challenge he faces each day. He replied, "Quality control across more than 50 vendors, every day, no exceptions. One vendor slips and it's my name on that order, not theirs. I handle it by pulling fulfillment numbers every week myself instead of waiting for a report to land in my inbox. If a vendor can't hold the standard, I cut ties fast. I learned that lesson the expensive way early on." We also asked Chris about a habit that has helped him succeed. He answered, "I read every single 1-star review myself. I don't let anyone filter that for me first. I started doing it back when we were small enough that I had no choice, and I never stopped even once we scaled past it. It's caught vendor issues way before they showed up in any dashboard, and it keeps me honest about what customers actually experience versus what I assume they experience." Then we asked Chris what achievement he's proudest of. He said, 30,000 orders through GroomsDay. But it's not really the number, it's what the number represents. That's 30,000 times a vendor delivered. A customer trusted us with a wedding they only get once, and it worked. I started this in a niche most people would have called too small to matter, so watching it get here means more to me than any bigger business milestone would." Next, we asked Chris who his favorite motivational speaker is. He answered, "I don't really follow motivational speakers. If I'm honest, the people who've actually moved the needle for me were other small business owners I met at trade shows back in my weddingreports.com days. Guys running operations way bigger than mine who'd still take 20 minutes to answer a question. That kind of thing stuck with me more than any stage talk ever did. Then we asked Chris what advice he would give his younger self. He replied, "Start smaller than you think you need to. When I launched weddingreports.com, I wanted to cover the entire wedding industry at once. It took me a while to figure out that going narrow and doing it well beats spreading thin across everything. I'd have saved myself a couple of rough years if I'd trusted that sooner instead of learning it the hard way." Next, we asked Chris if he is willing to mentor others. He said, "Yes. Reach me through GroomsDay or directly through groovygroomsmangifts.com. I'm most useful to people still figuring out vendor relationships. That's the part that took me the longest to get right, and I can save someone real time there." Finally, we asked Chris one question just for fun. "What's your favorite ice cream flavor?" Chris answered, "Chocolate. You can never go wrong with chocolate, and it goes with just about every topping."